Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to look at this bipod from Magpul. Here in my hands, my Ruger 1022. Now if you're into firearms, you know as well as I'm learning that firearms, you go down the rabbit hole pretty quick. So when I got my 1022, I realized pretty fast, well, I need to add a scope to my firearm, which, well, took me further down the rabbit hole to saying at this point I need a bipod. And after a whole bunch of research, this is the bipod I landed on. Now, for a number of reasons, which we will talk about. But in my opinion, this is a perfect choice for many different platforms. That's the first thing, the flexibility and versatility that you get with a product like this. Second, the overall build construction. Now, I have done a bunch of research. This might be a little polarizing where some people greatly like this, other people think it's cheap. Honestly, if people think this is cheap, I really don't know what they're looking for, because to me, this is absolutely awesome. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go through this in detail. I'm gonna talk to you about my decision points and why I went with the exact model that I did, how it's gonna perform for me, where I've already sort of gotten into some good practical field use. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. And so yes, here, the Magpul Bipod. Now, as I was saying in the intro, I kind of have gone down the wormhole pretty far to the point where I realized I definitely needed a bipod. So why did I choose this exact model? Well, first and foremost, I really wanted something that was going to be flexible and versatile and fit a number of different firearms. I didn't want one bipod to be really proprietary or stuck on any one particular firearm. So that was the first thing, was getting something that would be a little bit flexible. But second, I really liked the idea of this being polymer versus metal, steel, aluminum, maybe heavier. This is fairly lightweight, all things considered, so where I was putting it on my 22, which is a light firearm to begin with, I wanted something that would be almost equally light. And third, well, I didn't necessarily intend on going this direction, but it just so worked out. I ended up with the Magpul Hunter X22 stock. So at this point, it's kind of just a nice match for my system. And so now at this point, let's get into the details. And so as we start to get into detail here, as I mentioned, there are a number of different models. So this particular one here in the FDE, so flat dark earth, you can also get this in black. Now, in retrospect, if I could have done it again, I probably would get black. And the reason being, one of my first statements that you heard me say is I wanted something flexible and versatile and would go with any other firearms. And after I bought it in flat dark earth, I started thinking about it and I'm like, black might have been a better option for that. But I do have to say, I do like this FDE. It looks awesome. It's really a nice finish and a good overall look. There are sort of different FDEs out there, so every accessory is going to match a little bit different. This to me is sort of the average flat dark earth color. It's not too brown, it's not too sort of orangey, it's not too yellow. Every single color ends up with a cast beneath it. This FDE to me, very nice. And so the next decision, well, as you look at the box here, you'll notice this says bipod for 1913 Picatinny rail. Yes, that is true. I bought this specifically because it was a Picatinny rail adapter. Now, this Magpul bipod does come in a number of different configurations. So you can get this with what's called the ARMS 17S style, which, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how that is supposed to be mounted onto a firearm. I believe that is, an AR mounting system. I personally don't have an AR, so I can't really speak to that, but I knew that wasn't necessarily going to work for me. Next is you could get this with a QD sling mount. However, if you notice for me on my 22, my QD mount is on the side. So the way I'm rocking my sling, my QD mount on the side here, and that really wasn't going to work for my intended needs. third, you can get this with MLock. Now, the MLock would have been a great option. However, again, a little more proprietary compared to other firearms. Now, there are plenty of adapters out there, and, well, you'll see the irony of what I went through. So the MLock was another great choice for me, but I did, again, opt to go with Picatinny, which, again, with my particular Ruger 1022, I ended up going with this Hunter X22 stock. On the bottom and on the sides, you can see it has the MLock slots, yet I threw a Picatinny adapter on here. So again, I did do a couple funny things to make this work for me, but again, with the idea being this bipod now is more flexible for other things that I want to do with it. So you'll notice on the bottom of my 1022 on the fore end, I do have a Picatinny rail adapter. So very simple, this bolted on quite easy, no problem at all. And now it does allow me to leverage this bipod. So the bipod for me, I am going to mount, I would say, more towards the back end. If I ever wanted to put like a weapon light on the front of this, which I don't necessarily think, but I might, that means that for me, I really want this mounted towards the back. So that's how I'm choosing to run this. Now you notice these screw heads here. I actually just choose to use a coin. Keep a little coin in my range bag. I don't necessarily need like an Allen key, which you can use. I don't necessarily need, a big, huge honking flat screwdriver, which I really don't want to use. All I really need is a coin. It's very simple. Popping this nicely into place, and again, no problem. Just getting on this with the coin, tightening these down. It really just takes a matter of seconds. Now, that is one thing that I kind of would have liked. With this being a 22 and the 22 being a nice option for lightweight carry, this is a takedown model, so if I wanted to backpack this, some of the plinking and more like short distance sort of simple shooting tasks, I don't necessarily need the bipod, so it might have been nice to have a little more of a quick adapter just so that I could take the bipod on and off and not necessarily have to crank it down every time, but not too big of a deal. And you'll notice here the nice thing, well, the way I have this set up at this point, these just fold forward and out of the way. It is quite easy. And where this is not too large, it's not too bulky, it's not incredibly heavy, I'm not adding a huge mass to the front of my firearm. The other reason why I chose to keep this a little more towards the back, well, to more centrally balance the firearm. Obviously, the more weight you put out towards the muzzle, the more weight you will be trying to maneuver around. So to me, I felt as though trying to keep this a little closer to neutrally balanced, the better. Now, as we look through some of the features, the first thing, this just pulls down, no problem. Clicks right into place. You use these buttons here to depress and just fold that right back out of the way. These are spring loaded, so you'll see here, it is spring loaded. These work very well. They have a little bit of a positive click and a little bit of a rattle, and maybe that's why some people are saying this seems just a little bit cheaper, but to me, that has no real bearing on the structural integrity at all. And when you get this down on your working surface, everything's nice and tight. Now, if you want to extend these arms, you leverage this button here, and this slides in and out pretty much on a number of different indexing points. As you take a look at this here, you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're on the 6th one. So really this can adjust in a number of different ways, which is nice. So sliding that in and out, very simple. Again, depressing that button, very quick and easy, and that sits right where you want. And then when you're looking to get this out of the way, just slide it back up and out, no problem. On the bottom here, you'll notice this knob. Now at this point, I have this completely locked down, but when you loosen this, well, now you get some flexibility. You'll notice that this kind of rocks. So as you have this down on your working surface here, this will rock. The other thing is this has 2 different modes. So right now I have it so that it will not pivot. It will rock, but it will not pivot. Yet, if I remove this, back it all the way down, pull this collar sort of out of the way, and then spin the bipod all the way around. At this point, this is in what they call pan mode. which now, even if I tighten this back down, you'll notice that this will pan and tilt. So it gives you much more flexibility depending on what you're trying to do. Now, for me, where I'm really a novice, I'm really trying to lock myself down into my target, I found as though I really liked a little more of the tilt, but less of the pan. And either way you go, even with this mounted, if you're careful, you can still get it so that your bipod arms fold down and forward and out of the way. So for me, that was kind of a big deal, where at this point, it kind of locks everything forward. You can really lock this down completely. If you crank that down, it won't move, it won't pan, and it won't tilt as long as you're careful. So to me, this was very flexible and versatile, and it did exactly what I needed. But again, I tend to leave mine in the locked mode so that I don't have the pan and the tilt. Now here, getting this out to the range for some good quality field use action. Again, the bipod for me absolutely instrumental in my ability to fire my rifle and accurately. I've taken my .22 to the range a few times. I have handheld it entirely, and well, mixed results, and especially at distance. So having a bipod for me is going to be absolutely key. The other thing is, I really do intend on getting my children out to the range learning how to shoot. They are young, they're not the strongest, so having something like a bipod so they can rest the firearm and they can shoot safely, that is absolutely going to be critical for me. So the Magpul Bipod definitely coming into play, and it's a key part of my .22 build. Here, taking a look at this real quick, you can see the ride height, so definitely something that's fairly reasonable in terms of the overall ride height. Now, keeping in mind, again, you can completely adjust the height of the legs, which is nice. Cranking that out to full height now, you can see it definitely gains a good number of inches. I mean, here, that's probably 3.5 inches of overall distance that you gain on those legs. So the ability to really adjust it to your body height, depending on how you're trying to shoot, that is going to be fantastic. So again, the Magpul Bipod for me, just enough flexibility and versatility to get me started here with my .22. So all right, guys, there you have it. A look at this Magpul Bipod. Again, a perfect piece of kit for me, taking me deeper and deeper down the firearms rabbit hole. I mean, I have a long way to go, but I am starting at this point to get into all the necessary accessories. So not just the rifle, but now getting into the optics and the support systems to allow you to shoot the way you want to shoot. That's the main thing. And I guess the biggest lesson that I learned is find something that's going to fit your system, fit your intended needs, and really give you the desired results you're looking for. So if you think you need something that's a little bit more stout or more durable than this, by all means. But I think for the vast majority of us, this is a great solution. So between the overall sort of flexibility, the adjustment, the maneuverability, the build quality, the look, the feel, in my opinion, this is a great way to go. And so if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my primary channel, which is my Outer Limitless channel. On that channel, I cover everything from hiking, camping, backpacking, all the gear that goes with it. So from your shelter systems, your sleep systems, backpacks, knives, axes, flashlights, you name it, that's my Outer Limitless YouTube channel. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you liked what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.